So one of the issues we face, and a common problem in question, is if we increase our enrollment, do we lose the small scale feel of the school? And that's a very fair question. We want to retain the small intimacy important to elementary learning, for example, and still try to accomplish the efficiencies that can be afforded by slightly enlarged size. Elementary grades are very lucky. They're self-contained classrooms. So when you're dealing with class sizes in the low 20s for the elementary grades, and that student is in a self-contained classroom, possibly with even a teacher aide, then you're already accomplishing that small, intimate educational experience. The student then departs and goes to an elective, and they retain that small class enrollment. And finally, in areas like the media center, art areas, music areas, gymnasiums, they're also getting the benefits of small class size and the educational experience they need while still affording a slightly larger building. So what we see can happen here is if we slide down the curve without going too far out, we could create a school with still the small school scale between 500 and 600 enrollment, which you do have in the district, I might add. There are some schools working very effectively at this size, and still start emerging toward the bottom part of the chart. Notice it's not the goal. It's not the goal to go to the least expensive solution. Because what starts to happen out here? Well, you have too many buses. The playgrounds are maybe not appropriately located to the classroom. And other things start to happen that isn't as good for education. So what I'm trying to explore together are the impacts of being at the top end of that bar, while likewise coming down the chart and reaching some balance point that makes economic sense and still protects the importance of a small educational learning environment. Let's look at the middle school. And again, I'm an older middle school teacher now, but I love teaching middle school, and many of the photographs I showed you today were from middle school. But in the middle school, you also have the good fortune of smaller class sizes, meeting the standards of the state, but again, they're semi-self-contained, and when they go to the electives, some of those class sizes even get smaller. In special classrooms that need a special focus or something like that, they might go a little bit lower. The media center still remains a small educational space for enrollment, never having more than 1 or 2 classes in it at any one time. And AP courses, like the ones I showed you today, some advanced placement courses, can still have very small class enrollments. So what I'm trying to show again is as we move down the chart, again toward this break point at the bottom between 500 and 600, you're starting to get a substantial economy of scale per pupil while slightly enlarging the enrollment, but not jeopardizing the smallness of the building. That's the key point. I'll be honest, when I look at the next 5 years, 10 years, economically across the country, controlling unwanted costs is going to be critical. What's happening to many people individually in terms of this economic moment in time is happening to school districts. And as we look at the issues of energy cost, utilization of buildings, and maintenance, there's an incredible desire to sometimes remember when we were in school and how nice it might have been and want to keep those feelings, but they're becoming much, much more costly to do in our school systems. So what I'd like to do is test an exploration with you. I'm not asking for a decision tonight by any means, but part of the question you'll be asked later is, as we come down the chart and we check our size between, let's say, 500 and 600, would you allow us to consider a blending of 6th, 7th, and 8th grade? The benefits of that enhance the science and advanced placement opportunities and the educational needs of 6th grade students. The schools can be designed appropriately for that age group. It's done across the United States. It's the preferred model by the National Middle School Association, which I'm a member of and have written numerous articles for, which I encourage you to go to my website. So the idea we want to explore is looking at 7 and 8 like you have, but possibly going to a 6th, 7th, and 8th grade configuration, and an enrollment that approaches 550 to 600, thereabouts. And again, you have some schools in that range. So the issue is, you're doing it well now, but we can afford and be more effective in our funding if we possibly expand that to other schools. Let's look at the high school level. I think you have one of the finest opportunities in high school distribution that I've seen in a very long time with regard to both features, effective and efficient, and educational excellence. I started touching upon them today by the nature of the facilities that can be easily and effectively remodeled to meet future needs. Now, interestingly, I got chastised, and I may have some of the school colors wrong. It's only because of my laptop. My palette, it's all my palette's fault. Melody, Dr. Smith's back there laughing. I really had these mixed up, and they looked at them and said, I know that's not your green. Okay, I know, I'm sorry. But the point is, if we look at this situation of, let's say, a central at 1,600 students, anywhere in the country, that would be an admirable school size. Across the country, I've planned schools at 2,000 students, 2,500 students, 3,000 students, and more. So your situation at a school at 1,600 is admirable. Now you have an opportunity to look at other high schools, Lafayette and Benton, at the 700 to 800 student enrollment, to be assured that you create the best core curriculum possible, while also coming down your line here and being very effective and affordable on our chart. So again, you're sticking out here a little bit, only into the 600 to 700 range, but you're maximizing the cost per pupil while still being able to maintain the kinds of school structure you're used to in the community. So in summary, I'd like to go through the points I've talked about and then move on to the next step in this process. I think it's incredibly important to be clear about your goal. Retain the programs that are working well and improve upon them. You've seen many, and they're working especially well. I said early on in my last meeting, I'd be proud to have my two sons have had the opportunity to attend any school in your school district, or as one is a science major now, attend any of your high schools with regard to your science programs, your biomedical programs, and the like. Continue quality class size, and I believe strongly the economy in the next couple of years and funding for schools is going to be challenged. One of our future talks made by somebody else will be discussing this in more detail. I think it would be prudent, and again a suggestion as your consultant from afar, like pruning a rose bush, prune it back reasonably tight so that it has the ability and strength to grow through this next 5 to 10 year window. Develop equitable standards. We need to make sure we have an equitable standard that we apply to every single elementary school, every single middle school, and use that as the basis if we had to build new or remodel, or possibly take a school off the rolls, I have to be honest, and then apply a similarly equitable standard to the high schools. Look at the possibility and benefits of elementary schools between 550 and 600, and you have some already, and middle schools from 525 to 600, that range. I guarantee you that is still small compared to many middle schools across the United States, and not anywhere near. That would be considered a medium to small size school. And then thirdly, look at a grade configuration that might go, this isn't a decision, but might go K5, 6, 8, and then look at the high schools as academies. What do I mean by academies? Each of your schools has a uniqueness in terms of its facility, which I think is an opportunity. Similarly, some of your schools have a propensity already to engage in certain programs that they already are successful in. Building upon those and changing the facilities to enhance those will allow you to have a high school mix that I think can give the best opportunity to any student who goes through the school district and through the high school programs. So again, we're not asking for a decision, but we're only trying to share that we might want to explore some of those options tonight. Okay, what I'd like to do is invite John up, if John's going to lead the next step in the process. And I thank you for the opportunity to present this evening. If you have questions later, I'll look forward to answering those. John?
As always, I want to thank you all for your time.